My name is Sarah, and I'm 34. For the last decade, I've been the fixer in my family, the responsible daughter, the one who got a practical degree, built a successful landscape design firm in Portland, and dutifully paid her taxes. My younger brother, Ben, is 30. He's the artist, the prodigy, the sensitive soul. In my family, those are all just fancy synonyms for a black hole with a man bun. For as long as I can remember, my entire life has been a series of small, quiet sacrifices to fund his potential, and my parents have been the devoted high priest and priestess of the First Church of Ben. I wasn't just the supportive older sister. I was the silent, unwilling financier. I was the one expected to pour my own dreams, my getaway fund I was building to buy my own home, into the endless, gaping void of his brilliant ideas. But this last time, it wasn't just a few $100 for a new guitar or a creative workshop. This time, it was $100,000. $100,000 they claimed he needed to pay off a quote, dangerous loan shark who was threatening to break his legs. My mom was hysterical, my dad was a ghost, and they begged me to take out a second mortgage on my house to save him. The only problem? It was all a lie. A sick, elaborate, twisted con. There was no loan shark. The real debt was the $90,000 they Ninja had secretly stolen from My House Trust Fund over the last 8 years to pay for his string of failures. The danger wasn't a bookie. It was an upcoming audit from the bank that would expose their crime. They didn't just lie to me. They tried to scam me into repaying the very money they had stolen from me, all while using my love for my brother as a weapon. They thought I was the same gullible, dutiful daughter I'd always been. They forgot I spend my life analyzing foundations. And theirs was about to crumble. Growing up in our modest suburban LA home was a masterclass in double standards. My life was a straight, narrow path, paved with expectations. Get good grades, get a scholarship, get a practical job, don't cause trouble. Ben's life was a winding, scenic highway with no speed limit, paid for by our parents' seemingly endless supply of excuses and credit. I'm 34, he's 30. And he has never, not for one single day, held a job for longer than 6 months. He's a musician, a conceptual artist, a filmmaker. He's a professional, on the verge. I remember my high school graduation. I'd just secured a massive academic scholarship to Oregon State for their landscape architecture program. My dad, Frank, shook my hand and said, "Good job, Sarah. Don't waste it." My mom, Brenda, just nodded, already distracted, and asked if I could help her clean out the garage. 2 weeks later, Ben, who was then 14, won a participation ribbon in a local art fair for a sculpture made of bottle caps. My parents threw a party, framed the ribbon, and my mom cried, telling everyone she just knew he was destined for greatness. This was the pattern. I built my career. I moved to Portland, worked grueling 80-hour weeks as an apprentice, lived on ramen and sheer spite, and finally, saved enough to start my own small firm. I was good at it. My designs were unique, sustainable. I built a reputation. I bought a tiny, adorable craftsman bungalow, and, after 5 more years of grinding, I paid it off. I was free. I was my own person. Or so I thought. The guilt tax, as I'd come to call it, started about 10 years ago. It began when my parents co-signed my initial business loan. It was a $20,000 loan, which I paid off in full, with interest, in 4 years. But to them, that co-signature was a lifelong contract of servitude. They had taken a risk on me, a risk that cost them nothing, and I was now expected to show my gratitude indefinitely. This gratitude mostly took the form of funding Ben. When his filmmaking career required a $5,000 camera, I got the call. "Sarah, honey," my mom would plead, "it's his big break. We'll pay you back." When his band needed to rent studio time, I got the Venmo request. I was paying their car insurance. I was covering their surprise property tax shortfalls. I was sending $1,500 a month to their house, ostensibly to help with the mortgage, on a house I knew damn well had been paid off for years. It was just easier to pay it than to fight about it. All this money was siphoned directly from my escape fund, a private savings account I had been building since my first paycheck. My dream was to buy a small plot of land outside the city, build a tiny, self-sustaining home, and start a small nursery. It was my someday plan, but someday kept getting pushed further and further away, thanks to my family's constant leeching todays. I was the fixer, the responsible one, the ATM, and they were all perfectly, horrifyingly comfortable with that arrangement, until the day the loan shark story surfaced. The frantic call came on a Tuesday. It was my mother, and she was hysterical. Not her usual, "I'm so worried about Ben" theatrics. This was raw, genuine-sounding panic. "He's in trouble, Sarah. Real trouble. You have to come home. Now." I dropped everything. I canceled 2 major client meetings, booked a last-minute flight, and was in my parents' living room by 8 p.m. The scene was pure, staged melodrama. My mom was weeping into a dish towel. My dad was sitting in his recliner, his face a ghastly shade of gray, staring into the middle distance. And Ben was sitting on the couch, his head in his hands, looking pale, terrified, and, for the first time in his life, genuinely broken. "What's going on?" I asked, my heart pounding. "He owes money, Sarah," my mom choked out. "A lot of money. To some very bad people." My dad finally spoke, his voice a low, gravelly whisper. "A loan shark. He borrowed money for an investment, a music festival that went bust. He owes them $100,000, and they want it by the end of the week." I stared at Ben. "A loan shark. Are you an idiot? Who does that? They're going to hurt him, Sarah," my mom shrieked, grabbing my arm. "They sent him a picture of our house. They said if he doesn't pay, they're going to. She broke down, unable to finish the sentence. Ben just sat there, rocking back and forth, muttering, I didn't know it would be like this. I'm so sorry." I felt sick. This was insane. $100,000? "We have to go to the police," I said, pulling out my phone. "No," my dad roared, jumping up from his chair. "No police. These people, you don't understand what they'll do. They'll kill him, Sarah. We can't involve the cops." This was a nightmare, a surreal, B-movie nightmare. "So what do you expect me to do?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I don't have $100,000 just lying around." "No," my mother said, wiping her eyes, her gaze suddenly sharp, focused. "But you have your house. It's paid off. You have equity. You could take out a second mortgage. Just a short-term loan. We'll all pay it back. Together. As a family." There it was. The ask, the big one. They weren't just asking for my savings anymore. They were asking me to risk my Charmish home. The one thing in my life that was truly, completely mine. "You're asking me to put my house on the line. For him?" I looked at Ben, who still wouldn't meet my eyes. "I'm begging you, Sarah." My mom grabbed my hands, her nails digging into my skin. "He's your brother. He's my son. I can't let them hurt my boy. Please, you're the only one who can fix this. You're the only one the bank will listen to." I looked at my dad. He just looked away, his face a mask of shame and fear. "It's the only way, Sarah," he mumbled. I felt like I was going to throw up. My entire body was screaming, "No, run." But the image of my brother, as pathetic and useless as he was, being physically hurt. The raw, primal terror in my mother's eyes. It was a perfectly orchestrated trap, preying on my guilt, my love, and my deep-seated role as the fixer. I need to think." I stammered, pulling my hands away. "I need to talk to my bank. I need to see what's even possible. I need 48 hours. "Of course, honey, of course," my mom said, a flicker of triumphant relief in her eyes that I should have recognized. "Take all the time you need. Just be quick." I fled their house, my heart pounding a frantic, trapped rhythm against my ribs. I wasn't going to talk to my bank. I was going to talk to the one person in my family who had always had a functioning bullshit detector, my Aunt Linda. Aunt Linda is my dad's older sister. She's a retired, no-nonsense corporate accountant who lives in Arizona and spends her days hiking and, I'm pretty sure, judging the world's poor financial decisions. She's also the executor of my late grandmother's, her mother's, will. She and I had always been close, bonded by a shared, unspoken understanding of my family's dysfunctional dynamics. I called her from my hotel room, my voice shaking as I relayed the entire, insane story. The $100,000, the loan shark, the threat to Ben's life, the demand for my house. Linda was silent on the other end of the line for a long, heavy moment. "Sarah," she said finally, her voice sharp and clear, "you are not to do a single thing. Do not call your bank. Do not agree to anything. You are being played." "What?" "Aunt Linda. They're terrified. My mom was." "Your mother," Linda cut me off, "is a world-class actress, and your father is her spineless co-star. This entire thing stinks, honey. $100,000 to a loan shark? It sounds sloppy. Too sloppy for them." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been getting some strange flags from the bank that manages your grandmother's trust," she said. My stomach dropped. "What trust?" "Your grandmother, my mother, was a smart woman. She knew your parents, and she knew Ben. She didn't leave your father a lump sum. She put his inheritance in a trust. But she also set up 2 separate, smaller trusts for you and Ben to be paid out on your 40th birthdays." I had no idea," I whispered. "I know. She wanted it to be a surprise, a protection. Your parents, well, Your mom was furious when the will was read. But here's the thing, Sarah. The trust Tunch managed for your parents is fine. But the bank that manages your separate trust, they've been sending me audit requests for the last 2 months. Someone has been trying to access the funds, or at least get information on them. I put a freeze on it, but it was strange. And now this, a sudden, desperate need for a huge, specific amount of cash? It's too much of a coincidence. A new, more sickening dread was dawning. What are you saying? I'm saying, I don't think Ben's in trouble with a loan shark. I think your parents are in trouble. And I think they're trying to get you to pay for it. She promised to make some calls. I spent the next 24 hours in a nauseous fog, replaying every emergency and crisis of the last 10 years in my head. Every time I had sent money, had they been laughing. Linda called back the next afternoon. Her voice was ice. I found it, she said. It's worse than we thought, Sarah. Your mother, Brenda, was named as the secondary guardian on your trust, a holdover from when you were a minor. The bank that managed it was a small, local one your parents used. It seems she found a loophole. A very, very illegal loophole. She laid it all out. For the past 8 years, my mother, with my father's knowledge, had been forging my signature on withdrawal slips, siphoning money from Tunder's trust fund. That money, she explained, was the Asterix real source of funding for all of Ben's brilliant ideas, the film school, the failed startups, the expensive gear. They had stolen from me, systematically, for almost a decade. How much? I whispered, my mouth dry. $90,200, Linda said, and the bank finally caught on. Their internal audit flagged the irregular withdrawals. They're demanding the money be returned immediately, or they're going to press charges for fraud and embezzlement. I couldn't speak. The air had been sucked from my lungs. The loan shark wasn't threatening to hurt Ben. The Noj Bank Asterix was threatening to arrest my parents. So the $100,000. I pieced it together. It wasn't for a bookie. It was to replace the money they stole from Sim Asterix before they get caught. And they were trying to trick me into paying myself back, using my house as collateral, all while making me think I was saving my brother's life. That's the long and short of it, Linda said grimly. They're not just liars, Sarah. They're thieves. And they're using your brother's fabricated danger as a human shield to cover their own crime. The rage that filled me was so pure, so cold. It was almost peaceful. It wasn't the hot, messy anger I'd felt at their constant demands. This was the precise, surgical anger of a data analyst who had just found the catastrophic error in the code. The entire system was corrupt. Okay, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Okay, Linda. Thank you. I know exactly what to do now. I didn't fly back to Portland. I stayed in LA in my anonymous hotel room, and I began to plan my counteroffensive. I was no longer the fixer. I was the wrecking ball. I called my parents, my voice a carefully crafted performance of a daughter on the edge of a nervous breakdown. I'm in, I cried into the phone, letting my voice shake. I talked to my bank. It's complicated, but I can do it. I can get the loan. I'll save Ben. The relief on my mother's end was so profound, it was almost sexual. Oh, Sarah, thank you. Thank you, baby. You're a lifesaver. You've saved us all. But I have conditions, I stammered, as if the thought had just occurred to me. If I'm taking out a $100,000 loan, if I'm putting my house on the line, I need protection. I need collateral. Of course, honey. Anything, she said way too quickly. I want you to sign the deed of your house over to me, I said. Not permanently, just as collateral. You'll put the house in my name, and I'll have a contract drawn up that says, the asterisk moment you and Ben pay me back the $100,000, I'll sign it right back over to you. It's just a formality, so my bank feels secure. It's what they suggested. I could hear her muffled voice talking to my dad. She wants the house as collateral, just as a formality. I heard his faint, whatever she needs, Brenda. Just get the money. Okay, honey. My mom came back on, her voice all business now that the prize was in sight. That makes sense. We'll do it. Whatever you need. And, I added, I need Ben to sign it too, as a witness. And I want him to sign a separate agreement, a personal guarantee, for the full amount. I want him to asterisk, finally, have some skin in the game. Yes, of course. He'll sign anything. Okay, I sniffled. I'll have my lawyer draft the paperwork. We can meet at a notary's office tomorrow. I hung up and immediately called Aunt Linda. It's on, I said. They took the bait. Aunt Linda, it turned out, was not just a great accountant. She was a terrifyingly efficient legal strategist. She drafted the documents overnight. They were ironclad. The first was a simple quitclaim deed, transferring my parents' house, their single largest paid-off asset, directly to me. The second was a promissory note and repayment agreement for Ben. This was my masterstroke. The note wasn't for the $100,000 loan shark money. It was for the asterisk real debt. It was a detailed, itemized list of every dollar I had loaned or gifted him and my parents over the last 10 years, including the initial $2,000 startup boot camp, the car insurance payments, the $1,500 per month guilt tax, and of course, the $90,000 they had stolen from my trust. The grand total came to $215,000. They'll never sign that, I said to Linda over the phone. They won't read it, honey, Linda replied, her voice grim. They'll be in such a hurry to get their hands on your loan that they'll sign whatever you put in front of them, as long as you look like a wreck. You're the panicked, emotional daughter. They're the calm, rational problem solvers. Use it against them. The signing was a scene worthy of an Oscar. I showed up at the notary's office looking like I hadn't slept in a week, which was true. My eyes were red-rimmed from cutting onions. I was trembling with adrenaline. I'm so sorry, Mom, Dad, I whispered as I walked in. I'm just so scared. I've got the loan application pending, but my banker was really firm about this collateral. It's okay, honey, it's okay, my mom soothed, patting my arm, her eyes darting greedily toward the stack of papers in my hand. We'll sign. We'll fix this. They barely glanced at the quitclaim deed. The notary, a stoic woman Linda had arranged, simply pointed. Sign here, Mr. Collins. And here, Mrs. Collins. They signed, handing their house over to me with a flourish. Then, I turned to Ben. And this is for you, I said, my voice shaking. It's just a promissory note. It states that you acknowledge the $100,000 loan I'm taking out is your debt, and you promise to pay it back to me. Yeah, of course, sis, he said, grabbing the pen, eager to get this over with. He didn't read a single line. He didn't see the itemized list, the $215,000 total, the clause that pledged 50% of his future earnings from any source until it was paid. He just signed his name on the last page. The notary stamped the documents. It was done. I had it all. The house was mine. And my brother had just legally confessed to a lifetime of debt. I took the signed, notarized documents and put them carefully into my briefcase. Okay, my mom said, a bright, false smile plastered on her face. It's done. So, will you wire the money to Ben's account tonight? I stood up. I straightened my jacket. The trembling stopped. My voice, when I spoke, was no longer the reedy, panicked whisper of their daughter. It was the cold, clear, analytical voice of the woman who had just foreclosed on their lives. No, I said. The silence in that small, beige notary office was absolute. My mother's smile froze, then slowly dissolved into a mask of pure confusion. What do you mean? No. I mean no, I repeated, zipping my briefcase. I am not taking out a second mortgage on my house. I am not wiring $100,000 to Ben. There is no loan shark. And this meeting is over. Jenna, have you lost your mind? My father barked, finally finding his voice. We just signed the house. Yes, you did, I said. You signed your house over to me as collateral for a fake loan. And Ben, I turned to my brother, who looked like a fish gasping for air. You just signed a legally binding confession and repayment agreement for $215,000. 200 what? Ben stammered. The $90,000 you and Mom and Dad stole from my trust fund, I said, ticking the items off on my fingers. Plus the $1,500 a month I've been sending you for 5 years, which comes to another $90,000. Plus the $20,000 for the car, the boot camp, and the credit cards. Plus interest. It all adds up. My mother's face was a horrifying shade of white. You knew? You knew about the trust? I've known for a week, I said. I've known that the loan shark was a pathetic lie to cover your own criminal fraud. You didn't just ask for my help. You conspired to steal from me, again, to cover up the fact that you've been stealing from me for 8 years. You used my love for my brother as a weapon to try and trick me into paying for your own crime. You set us up. My mom shrieked, lunging at me, but my dad held her back. This was a trap. No, Mom, I said, stepping back, my hand on the doorknob. A trap is what you three laid for, Tamim. This, I tapped my briefcase, is the consequence. This is what call character building. You can't do this. My dad roared. That's our home. We'll sue you. You'll what? I asked, my voice genuinely curious. You'll tell the court. What? Exactly. That I tricked you into signing your house over. by promising to pay a fake $100,000 debt you yourselves invented to cover up the $90,000 you stole from trust fund? Please, Dad. Go ahead. Let's see how that plays out for you in front of a judge. Let's talk about fraud and embezzlement. They were speechless. They were ruined. They had, in their desperation and greed, handed me the very weapon I needed to end this, once and for all. So here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice as calm and steady as a quarterly report. As of this moment, I am the legal owner of your house. I am giving you 30 days to vacate the property. Ben, you're out. Today, I have nowhere to go, he whimpered. Not my problem, I said. Mom, Dad, you have 30 days. I am selling the house. From the proceeds, I am paying myself back the $215,000 you owe me, plus all legal fees. Whatever is left, if anything, I will forward to you. Consider it your new escape fund. You're gonna need it to find a rental. Or you can ask Ben to support you with his visionary career. Jenna, please, my mother whispered, the fight finally gone, replaced by a devastating, hollow understanding of what she had done. Please don't do this. We're your family. No, I said, opening the door. You were my burden, and I'm finally putting you down. I walked out of that office and didn't look back. The fallout was exactly as messy as you'd expect. They tried to fight it, of course. They hired a lawyer. I have no idea how they paid him, who sent me a long, threatening letter. My lawyer, Aunt Linda, in all her glory, sent back a one-page response that consisted of the signed, notarized quitclaim deed, Ben's signed confession and repayment agreement, and a copy of the single devastating email. She's a good girl, but so gullible, she can just make the money back. Their lawyer quit the next day. I was true to my word. I had Ben served with an eviction notice. He had a full-blown meltdown on the front lawn, which several neighbors recorded on their phones. My parents, humiliated and defeated, moved out 2 weeks later into a small, bleak apartment on the other side of town. I sold the house in a quick, all-cash sale. After I paid myself back the $215,000 I was owed, plus the legal and notary fees, there was $42,000 left. I had the check mailed to their new address. And then, I was free. It's been almost 2 years now. My escape fund is fully restored. My consulting firm Veritas Data is officially launching in 3 months. I am finally living the life wanted, on my terms. The rest of the family? They're existing. My father, humbled and broke, got a part-time job as a greeter at a hardware store. My mother, I've heard, is working as a cashier. The fall from their comfortable, middle-class pedestal was, I'm sure, brutal. And Ben, he's working as a busboy at a chain restaurant. He sends me a check for $50 every month, a pathetic, court-ordered payment against the $215,000 he legally owes me. It will never be paid off, but that's not the point. The point is the monthly reminder, the small, humiliating consequence he can never, ever escape. I don't know if they'll ever understand the depth of what they did, or if they just regret getting caught. Honestly, I don't care. I'm no longer their fixer, their ATM, or their daughter. I'm just a woman who finally learned that the most important person to save is yourself.